an ordnance to blow up walls and tanks and so forth in wars, but it powderizes, blows up tanks, spreads all over, and that gets into what I have to find, or maybe call Dr. Garth Nicholson and get the interview we had. We did an interview during Gulf War I, with one of the Gulf War victims, i.e. a GI, okay? So a Gulf War veteran. And he was loaded with uranium. He couldn't think straight, was paranoid. He had 40 tumors. He had severe clotting. He had all kinds of diarrhea. He had all kinds of symptoms related to the Gulf War and chronic fatigue, that kind of thing. So we want to get this out that, like even 8 months ago, a fellow comes in and says, what's the matter? I'm dizzy and other complaints. Okay. So I asked him, I said, well, have you been exposed to depleted uranium? He said, how did you know? I said, well, you were in the war and you don't feel good, and that's logical that I would ask that question because I know about it. He says, well, they told me to go out into this burned-out vehicle, and they told me to watch for the enemy from the burned-out vehicle, but don't stay there very long. And he said, well, I said to them, why shouldn't I stay there very long in the burned-out vehicle to see where the enemy's going? And they said, because it's loaded with uranium.
Oh, my God.
And so this is just like 8-9 months ago. So this is still ongoing, this situation. But it's not a mainstream media subject. So we're trying to get... Now, here's what happens. Like at Walter Reed Hospital, the congressmen and the press, right? They'll visit the amputee ward, won't they?
That's what I've heard of.
Right, but they won't visit the cancer wards. Aha! Because they don't want it to become a mainstream media topic that we're causing cancer in our Gulf War veterans with depleted uranium, okay, being a big cause of it. So you can go to rinse.com, of course, and you can scroll to your left and go to depleted uranium. You'll read a lot of nice articles there on depleted uranium.
There's also a documentary called Beyond Treason that I saw part of. I didn't see the whole thing. That was on what the soldiers go through and the levels of uranium that are in the air.
Yes.
And they have no clue. No clue.
So some of the data is that since 2006, there's 6 times the amount of lung cancer in the United States than there was prior.
Since 2006?
Yes.
6 times the amount of cancer?
Of lung cancer in the United States than there was prior to all this depleted uranium spread.
Well, the lung cancer could come from everything from chemtrails to the HAARP microwave opening up the ionosphere and radiation coming in from space as well. I
don't doubt that. Yeah. That's part of the problem, I imagine. But certainly, we know the stuff blows all over. We know I'm picking up in the mineral tests we do. We pick up. I know that, for example, on Channel 5 here a couple of weeks ago, they said there was 2 radioactive substances found in the water. Okay, and that's all they said. Well, we pick up uranium all the time in the mineral tests very commonly. There's 2 big dumps. There's a 10.5 million dump near Moab, Utah, that's 750 feet from the Colorado River, and it leaks radioactive material, uranium, in there.
What do you do about that as a doctor?
Well, we use a product that is brown seaweed to grab excess uranium and other radioactive materials.
On a full-time basis for people?
On a full-time basis, so you can take 1 a day or 2 a day. Like people also have high barium, which is supposedly comes from chemtrails. That's a whole other topic. But anyway, I wanted to get that in, and I'm glad I did. Okay, and so people can go research further by going to websites like Rinse and look up, scroll down on your left and go to chemtrails, or scroll down on your left and go to depleted uranium.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are interviewing Dr. James Privatera. He is the author of Silent Clots, and he is in private practice in Covina, and he can be found at www.nutriscreen.com, NUTRISCREEN.com.
Or Privatera.com.
Or Privatera.com.
Or just call my phone number.
Why don't you give your phone number?
It's 626-966-1618.
So are you saying that most of us, if we've been tested, whether we've been tested for minerals or not, are going to be picking up uranium in our mineral tests? What is your experience as a doctor?
A lot of people, yes, we are seeing it commonly. Okay, commonly to have excess uranium, and it's very seldom talked about it in the general big media, mass media, and that's why I was very impressed that I heard on just Channel 5 out of L.A. them talking about 2 radioactive substances found in the water. Once in a while, you get a leak like that.
That's frightening. Mm-hmm. Absolutely frightening. I'm not even sure that the water filters and water filtration systems are set up to get rid of uranium.
You're right. It's very difficult to get rid of.
Isn't there like a $300,000 test or that you can test for it, but it's really expensive?
Well, I don't know, but see, the hair test picks it up. We're picking up uranium-238 in the hair mineral test. And I talked to Dr. Goffman when he was alive. I talked to Halstead when he was alive. And the 3 of us talked about all this and what level on the hair test, and 0.5 part per million was their kind of group opinion at what is significant. But it's a problem. We have it, this chronic exposure. It make long-term. How many people are tired? Well, uranium makes you tired. See, so whether that's a lot of how many people are doing mineral tests? I suppose less than 1% of the population, even let's say 40 and over, are getting tested.
And you're doing it by what? Taking clips of a person's hair?
Hair and analyzing it for 39 elements, but one of those elements is uranium. Exactly.
And how long does it take to get that test back?
Usually 2 to 3 weeks, and it's like $2 a mineral, and usually you have to do 39 at once, so the test is $92, at least to one lab we use. So, but it's sure worth it doing every couple of years to see where you are, because it's the only body you got.
There were 2 satellites that were blown up in the last 2 years in America that had uranium and plutonium on them.
Interesting.
And there wasn't much press about it.
Right. Well, I'm sure glad you're bringing this to the public.
I think one was over Hawaii, and I think the other one was over Texas. And these satellites have toxic substances on them, and when they're blown up, they go into a particulate form, which makes it difficult to get out of the air.
Okay.
So what can we do right now regarding all of this radiation and depleted uranium and not so depleted uranium?
Well, just what you're doing, and I think you're doing an excellent job at it, Kim, is oppose and expose. So, and to treat ourselves, we can all take a little bit of. Well, I have a particular product in mind, which I don't know if you want to put on the air, but it's a brown seaweed that's very effective.
Is it malathion?
No, it's modifilin is the name of it.
Spell it.
Difilin.
Spell it again.
Modifilin. It's just a trade name of a product that is brown seaweed that they used this kind of a product over in Chernobyl to grab uranium. So I would take one of that every day. But the key thing, the public needs to get tested. So get tested. Take advantage of cheap technology. Get a mineral test. You can get live blood examination. Bowel toxemia testing. These tests are. This is all in my book too. You can get these tests on a regular basis. You can go to my website and go from there. But that's certainly what the public needs to do, is oppose and expose, and also keep yourself healthy, because in order to fight for all these things, we have to feel good and think straight to fight for all these positive, healthy situations of basically less pollution. This is all, worldwide pollution. Of course, mercury is one of the biggest pollutants, and people are going around with a lot of mercury in their mouths. They're eating a lot of big fish. One of the actors named Pevin he had mercury poisoning, and they didn't believe him, and he was even as it was so high, he was eating tuna sushi, I guess, or any big fish sushi anyway, on a regular basis, and he had so much mercury in his body that he couldn't concentrate to do his play that he did in New York. And that's good that it comes out once in a while. And so we need to take advantage of those people who are well known by the public and use that as a rallying point of what we need to do to clean up the situation. Of course, the problem is the emerging countries like China and India and we're doing it too. We burn coal and it releases mercury and lead into the atmosphere.
I didn't know that the burning of coal released mercury.
Oh, yes. That's why the big fish, it goes into the water, and the big fish eat the little fish, and they live a long time, and so that's why the mercury is higher in the bigger fish, tuna, swordfish, shark, and halibut, particularly.
Thank God it hasn't hit salmon.
Yes, well, the reason is it's a smaller fish, and they have a shorter lifespan. However, all the fish have some mercury, but it's a matter of a dosage. Okay.
Can you test animals?
Pardon?
Can you test animals' hair for?
Of course you can. So the difference between a poison and a remedy is one word: dosage. See, so the answer to pollution is dilution. So that's another way to look at it, okay?
That's very interesting.
So the more you dilute something, of course, you get a bunch of crappy smells from the diesel truck in front of you, right? What do? You open your windows. You dilute it, see? Same kind of thing. And that's what we have to do. So avoiding big fish, you're not getting as much mercury. So big fish sushi should be banned. But, people have to, so it's an education. That's why I say expose and oppose. And you're exposing it. People learn what to do, and then they hopefully will follow up that if they're interested in taking care of themselves.
My interest also is not just to expose when it's relevant to expose, but to expose the public to the benevolent, incredible things like the dark field microscope. Like new knowledge and discovery when you're looking at cancer, that going in and doing a biopsy makes it metastasize.
Well,
things like that.
Up to 50% spread, absolutely. So these are old technologies. They're not new. I mean, dark field's been around since 1850. It's not new.
I just interviewed a very interesting doctor named Dr. Art Robinson.
Yes, he worked with... vitamin C. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to work with Linus Pauling.
Linus Pauling, sure.
And he has a 21st century medical diagnostics revolution he's working on in Oregon at oism.org. Very interesting. It's actually on the site at rainmakingtime.com under the recent segments. And it's something you should listen to. He's doing some incredible work, and I think you would have a lot in common. He's not working with patients directly like you are, but he is helping set up systems.
Send me his site on email, and I'll look at it.
I would love to.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. We've been talking to Dr. James Privatera. He is the author of Silent Clots, and he can be reached at
626-966-1618.
Or at Nutriscreen.com.
And God bless Kim Greenhouse for making this all possible.
Thank you very much.